We're going to start our lesson on trigonometry by plotting angles, and we're going to be plotting them in standard position. So we are going to take a look at how angles are defined in mathematics on using the four quadrants, or the XY plane. If we start measuring an angle from the x-axis and we go counterclockwise, swing that x-axis kind of up, if you can imagine, and that is where the angle ends. We'll call that angle theta. This is called the initial arm of the angle, and this is called the terminal arm. And we are going counterclockwise when we measure something in standard position. So an angle is measured in standard position by starting at the x-axis, the positive x-axis, and moving counterclockwise. The initial arm is where the angle begins, and the terminal arm is where the angle ends. And often we use Greek symbols to indicate the angle size. So if we are going to sketch this angle in standard position, I'm going to draw my XY plane here, and I'm going to start on the x-axis, and I'm going to go counterclockwise. So going this way, I hit the 90-degree mark. Keep going, I go to 180, and I'm just going to go a little bit past that to 200. And so this is where my terminal arm is. So this is angle theta in standard position. So the terminal arm is in a certain quadrant, and we start labeling the quadrants going counterclockwise. So it ends in quadrant 3. The reference angle is the smallest angle with the x-axis. So notice that terminal arm makes this angle with the x-axis and this one with the x-axis. And the green one is way smaller, and so that is the reference angle. So in this case, the reference angle is 20 degrees because we've gone from 180 and we've gone a little bit past that, actually 20 degrees past that. So that's why the reference angle is called 20 degrees. So let's do that a couple more times. We're going to have an angle in standard position starting at the x-axis, going to 90 and not quite making it to 180. So there's my angle in standard position. The reference angle is this small angle with the x-axis, and that is 180 degrees if you went all the way to the negative x-axis, which means the 60 degrees is what's missing. So theta reference, or the reference angle, is 60 degrees. All right, let's try one more, 370. So we're going to start on the x-axis, go 360 and an extra 10 degrees. So it's a sliver above there. It ends in quadrant 1. And this little piece of an angle is the reference angle, which is 10 degrees. So theta reference equals 10 degrees. All right, now let's take a look at another way of expressing angles. Here we've got a negative angle. So if we're going, these ones were positive, notice, and we were going counterclockwise. So this is an indication of the direction. So we're going to go these ones were counterclockwise, and this one is going to be clockwise. So we're going to go down this way to 45 degrees. So my angle in standard position is actually measured going this way. So the angle in standard position is not negative 45 degrees. It is 360 degrees minus 45 degrees, which is 315 degrees. And the reference angle is this little sliver right here, which is 45 degrees. So a bit complicated and something to be careful of when you're going negative. All right, if we're going to sketch an angle of 100 degrees in standard position, we're going to start at the x-axis and go a little bit past the y-axis. So there's 100 degrees. So that's an angle in standard position. Now if I sketch 460 degrees, do that in blue, we're going to go, it's a large angle, we're going to go 360, there's 360, plus an extra 100, and we're going to end up in the very same spot. So these two angles here, 100 and 460, end up in the same spot, so they are called coterminal. So a coterminal angle is an angle that terminates in the same position. Can we figure out a third coterminal angle with 100 degrees? Well, sure, there's an infinite number of them. We could have actually gone twice around the circle. So once 360, another C720, and then an extra 100. So 360 plus 360 plus 100 is 820 degrees. That also is coterminal. Another option is you could have gone backwards and said, all right, this angle ends up in the very same spot as well. So negative 260 degrees is also coterminal. So there's lots of options when you're asked for coterminal angles.